Okay, so I'm gonna open, maybe I'll make a run cycle with this guy. I don't need to use this one. And I'll just drop in some run cycle. I'll do some VFX and lighting with it. Okay, run or jog straight. So I'll make it a little bit longer. I can loop it. Ah, that's good. Okay, so maybe 100 frames. I'll put a simple background. I'll start off with the lights and then add the VFX. I'm gonna save this scene first before I overwrite. So polish VFX lights 00. Okay. I'll drop in like a plane, flat plane, and then just scale it up. And maybe I'll put, I'll remove the grid because I don't want to see the grid for now, just a little bit distracting. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to duplicate this grid and maybe just raise it up a little bit and make, for example, say like this would be our reflection, because I want to show you guys how to do a reflection in your scene. If you want a reflection like a mirror reflection, or let's say there's a pool in your scene and you want your character to reflect off of it, this is one way to do it. Okay, so first thing, I'll put in a light. I'll put in a light. Where's the lights? Elements. Lights. So I'm gonna use, what kind of light do we want? Let's put a spotlight because it's a bit it's a bit more dramatic, a spotlight usually, than a point light. So I'll use a spotlight because you can actually do some cool stuff with a spotlight. You can, for example, you can animate link the target of the spotlight. Where do you see? Okay, spotlight here. So if you can see here, or you don't see it. Oh yeah, you don't see the target. So if you look at the settings of the light, of the spotlight, you will see interest. So here, interest, you can put any object. You can put a chair, or you can put the hips of the character. Or maybe the hips. The hips is better. So if you hold down Alt and click and drag towards that slot, now the spotlight is gonna follow the character. Okay, as simple as that. So for whatever reason you need the light to follow something, this is one way to do it. Obviously you can change the color, you can be a bit more dramatic here, a bit moody. Intensity too, you can change. Cone, yeah, if you don't want this sort of harsh light or edge to the spotlight, you can change it. Actually, it's in here, I think. Linear. I think that this is supposed to change. Anyways, I don't know all the settings by heart, but you can definitely look up these in the help file. If you want to go, if that's your thing, you know, you don't want to check the do a good job on the lighting, always use the help file, which is in help F1, and just open up lights and you'll get a ton of information here to go in really deep. I'm not gonna go into it very deep because there is a lot of settings here, so if you want to dig deeper, it's that information is available. So yeah, I think it's the cone. The cone kind of, yeah, affects the harshness of the spotlight. There's also one thing interesting. You can actually by default is just a light, but you can actually assign a texture. So in here, media, if you use any texture that's in your scene, can have kind of a God ray effect. You can, doesn't really matter which texture you use, it just takes the texture and kind of stretches it out. See, it kind of actually it projects it on the ground. So I mean, it's very cheap way to do it. Use the existing textures in the scene, but you can easily create like in Photoshop, like lines or something, and just use it here in the spotlight to make like some kind of God rays on the. Yeah, actually you can delete the projection. So if you go in here, draw ground projection, just turn it off. So you only get the God rays coming from the spotlight. Right? Cool. Obviously, there's other kinds of lights. You can experiment to your heart's content, but please, please, please do not focus on lights. This is a course is called Animation Techniques, so please focus on your focus on polishing, adding the props that are essential to your story, and then if you have time and you want to beautify your shots and your film, go in and add those VFX and lights. Okay, please focus on animation first. That's what I'm gonna be grading you on. Okay, so that's it for the lights. Any questions? Is there anything you guys want me to cover for lights more than this, for specifically more to your needs? Because I'm going to be jumping to adding particles and stuff like that. Yeah, it's good. Okay. Okay. Thank you. So I'll show you, before I jump to particles, I'll show you how to add shadows and reflection. It's very simple. So if you go in shaders here, you right click, insert shader, and reflection. And if you drag that out to the pool, let's say this is a pool of water, you go replace by type. Technically, Maybe not. Yeah. Let's see if we add it here. Okay, maybe, yeah, he was too far on it. I'll try that again. Or maybe just try to move this one a little bit closer. Yeah, let me try that again. Because I think the reflection, I'm not 100% sure how the reflection works. I think it's only top down, but let me dig into it a little bit more right now. So insert reflection and just drop it on the pool. Could always replace by type because just in case there's already textures assigned to the ground, you're not gonna overwrite them. So either go replace by type or append. I'll do the other one with the shadow. I'll explain it more. So live planar reflection. I'm not sure that affects much. Okay, so this is the transparency, reflected models. So here you can pick what do you want to reflect in the plane. Yeah, I'm not sure what determines the angle of. I think the reflection is always downwards from the character. Anyways, it's a cool thing to know if you need it. If you need a mirror, I think even if this thing is 90 degrees, yeah, so it has a cool effect of reflecting opposite of what the character is doing. I'll show you how to add a shadow too. So if you go insert live shadow and you drag this to the plane. So here again, don't go replace all, either go replace by type or append. If you go append, it will add on top of existing shader. So let's say you download something from Sketchfab. It already has materials assigned to it or textures assigned to it, and you go replace, it will delete the old one and replace it by whatever you're dragging and dropping. So always go append or merge by type. Probably append is better because it just adds to it. So that's quickly how to add shadows to your textures. Sorry, shadows to your scene. Again, if you double click on the shader, you can specify exactly which objects are casting the shadow. Okay, you can go very, let's say there's an object that you don't want it to cast shadow. Let's say it's I don't know, like fire or something. I don't know. Usually particles don't cast shadows, so you don't have to worry about it. But in case you need it, it's there. Shadow type, you can play around with these. I don't think. Yeah, there's again, I don't know all the settings, but you can play around with these if you like. Intensity, this is how sharp, sorry, opaque it is, I guess. Yeah. Local per object shadow, I don't know. Lighting, producing shadow. Again, all these settings you'll find in the help file. But I'm just showing you the basics at this point. So that's it for lights, shadows, and reflections. I'll show you now how to add particles. So what I can do here, maybe I'll add maybe a couple of splashes of water on each step he takes. This way you know how to animate particles over time, kind of. Okay. So particles is in the shaders too. The way particle works is it needs an object to emit from, just like anything else. It's not like a node, an empty node. I think Maya has a bunch of like the emitters are just not renderable nodes, but in Motionbuilder you actually need an object to emit from. So I'm gonna drag a cube into the scene. And I'm gonna place it where I'll scale it up a bit so we can see it. I'm gonna place it where he steps. Okay, so basically here, just to generate the water effect. Okay. So I go back in shader. I right click, insert shader, and there should be one called particle. So particle, I'm gonna call this say water 1, because I'll do it like 2 splashes, 1 and then 2. This way you know how to offset each one, because otherwise they're both gonna splash at the same time. Okay, and I'll drag this, so this cube has nothing assigned to it now, no textures, nothing. So I'm just gonna drag it to the cube and go to place by type just in case, and it's gonna generate these. Oh, so particles do create shadows. That's nice. I didn't know that. That's good. So by default, the particles emit from the vertices. So it's emitting from each corner of the cube. Okay. Most of the time you don't want that. Not sure where you wanna be able to do something like that, but you can easily change it by emit from. You change it to scaling volume. So this now emits from the volume of the object that you have. If you have a sphere, it changes. Where is the sphere? It disappeared. Just gonna align it. So if I have a sphere, replace by type. See, it changes the emitter. So it changes depending on the object. It takes the object into consideration. It's weird. It's supposed to hide the. When you assign a shader to it, normally the object's supposed to disappear. I know it's not a big deal. We could just, after, when you're ready to render, you could just go show hide. No, it's not here. It's in schematic view. You can go in schematic and then hide. Okay, that's weird. It hides the particles too. This is new. It wasn't like that before. Anyways, I think label selection. That's very strange. They always change stuff in the in each version. And if we scale it down, okay, so at least this might work if we scale it down to 0.1. You can still kind of see it. Yeah, okay, doesn't matter. Trying to see if there's a way to hide the sphere and keep just the particles. Normally in previous versions, when you assign a shader to a primitive or a sphere or a cube or whatever, it hides the mesh, but for some reason now it's keeping it. Maybe they added an option somewhere to hide it. Doesn't really matter. We can get around it by just scaling it down to 0.01. Okay. Okay. So going back on the particle settings. So if you want to bring back the settings, just open shaders and double click on it. There are some small presets you can load. By default, it will give you the fire, but if you go in the tab Global Controls and Presets, you will find some it's going downwards. It's because it's below the ground. So if you switch rain, snow, fireball, this is the default one, I believe, and cloud. So you can start there and then go in and tweak the settings. So the shading is in here. Ooh. Okay. No. Okay. So I'm just gonna delete this one because it's a little funky. I think the default one was closer to like a water splash. I'm just gonna recreate it. Actually, yeah, I just remembered how to hide the. So if you need to make something transparent, I forgot to show you this as well. If you need to make something transparent, you need another shader. So go insert lighted shader, and then just drag and drop on the cube, replace by type. And now in here you switch to accurate transparency and you bring it down to 0. See? This, you can make any object like this even with textures. So let's say our friend here he has textures already, see? You can make the whole thing, I believe, if they haven't changed it, lighted, I'm just gonna call this character, lighted shader, character. So let's say he's alien, transparent alien of some sort. So replace by type, or can I try append to see what happens? Accurate. Okay, so maybe append doesn't work. Let's try it again by type. Okay. Okay, yes, so you have to go per object because the eyes and the teeth, that's kind of a nice look actually. Not bad. So you have to go per mesh. So that's one way to create transparent characters. Okay, light a shader and just drag it and use the uh, replace by type. Always use replace by type. Don't go append. Replace by type works. Okay, go back on this. So this is one way to make the box disappear. Apply, let's say you want the emitter not be visible. Apply a lighted shader and change it to accurate accuracy and put it down to 0. Okay, I'll put it down for now. Keep it at 1 for now, and then we can do it right now. I'm just going to name it cube. Particles. Water 1. Replace by type. And by volume. Okay, so first we want to change the color. So I want it to be, let's say, blue. And maybe the out color is white. That's kind of a weird, I don't know if it's going to work. Maybe light blue. See, it's real time, so it changes, kind of looks like gas burning. I mean, you have to experiment with this stuff. It's not it's not like you're not always gonna get what you want from the first try, so you need some experimentation. Anyways, you get the idea. Fade in, you can change the I'm experimenting right now, so I don't know what I'm doing. Anyways, you can experiment with all of these. I would say most of the work most of the settings will be up here. There's a physics section here. If you're dealing with moving objects that are emitting, so this is like another section you can control as well. There's also direction. So right now this one is important, direction. It's only moving up on the y axis, but you can actually make it go on the x or z. See, it just moved. You can increase it to see the difference. See? So for now we're just gonna stick to one axis. Yeah, it doesn't really matter. It's just the direction the particles are going at. And it's global space. If you want it to go this way, just like the z. So again, positive z, negative z, positive x, negative x. So if you want it to go positive z, you need to put actually minus. Okay. I think this is not just for objects moving, you can increase the speed of it to make it go faster. Obviously, all these parameters are connected. So if you change one, it's gonna go up faster, but it's gonna cover more space. So you need to play with these settings to get exactly what you want. We can decrease the size of the particles. So now each one is smaller. Oh, sorry, quantity. Sorry, not the size. Size is here. So quantity is how many. We just want a little splash when he steps. Size, yeah, size, we just want some small droplets, so we want it as small as possible. Delta, I believe, how many particles stay in the scene, I think. Yeah, see, the lower, the less particles in the scene. Quantity, I'm gonna go super low. Size maybe a little bit bigger. Try to do the sound effects, it helps. It just helps, just like animation. Alright. Start delta is another one I don't know about, so it's probably the amount that you start with. Lifetime is how many times it stays on screen. So if you go super low, yeah, it's not gonna go up that far. There's another delta here, I'm not sure why. So maybe delta start, maybe delta end. It doesn't look like it's affecting it that much. Emit radius, so how big you want, how wide, right? So now it's emitting further from the cube. Anyways, you can really go crazy with these if you want to have fun. Again, please focus on animation first. Don't focus on these too much, unless it's necessary for your periods. Yeah, I'm trying to make it a little bit slower. No. Yeah. Okay. So I'm not gonna. Oof. Oh yeah. 12.50. So let's say this is the splash that we want. It's not ideal. I mean, I don't want to spend another half hour trying to figure it out. So all these parameters, you can keyframe. See, it has a key beside it. So I'm gonna show you how to keyframe. Basically, I'm just gonna duplicate these. Let me save it first. Can I duplicate this? Simple as that. Yes. Okay. So you can duplicate the cube and the shader. Yes, it creates another one. In case you wanna, you're gonna have to animate the frames on these ones to generate after on the next step, right? Okay, so we'll start with the first one. So we don't want it to emit until frame 9 on the step. Okay, so what do? We just keyframe the sides. So in here we select the size and we bring this down to 0. And on frame 9, see it shows up the key here because we've selected the track. If we don't select the track, you can select and deselect by just clicking on it. See, it shows up the key here. That's how you can manipulate the keys afterwards. So on frame 9, we bring it up to 1250. So now, okay, it starts a little bit before, so we just need to do maybe this and just offset it. Then we have to animate the size again by copy, go to the frame and paste. So now, beautiful. I'm just having fun. So now actually we could have copied now, so I'm gonna just delete oops. Why is it select? Oh, that's why. Can we just delete it like this? Or it's linked? Whatever, we can copy the keys from the first one to the second one. So right now the size is animated here. If you select these keys and copy, you should be able to paste them here and then offset them. Oh no, oh, we can't. So maybe go on F curves. Make sure you've selected the oh, it deselects it. Okay, so I'll show you another trick here. If you want to select the keys of the size, select the size and go Window, add F curve, F curves right there. So now, because as soon as you in here, as soon as you go to F curves, oh yeah, no, it's still there. It's weird. Why did it deselect it before? Strange. Oh, maybe that's why. Okay, no, it's still there. Strange. Anyways, if you're not able to go to F curves, just go in. I'll show it to you anyway. So select the particle, select the size. It's working now. And then go to Window, add F curve, and then you're gonna see the curves in here. Size, acceleration, deceleration. You're gonna see the curves. So if we go like this, copy, edit, copy, because the keyboard shortcut is not working anymore. Sorry guys. What do you do? Open source. That's open source for you. No? Okay. Okay, now it's working. So copy, and then go back in Navigator, select the other particle. Well, you could have just keyframed it, but I'm showing you how to copy paste. And then paste. Oh, it doesn't work. So we cannot copy paste the keys. I thought it was doable. See, usually it works. You can do that with any object. Maybe you need a key. Oh, so you need to create a key. Does it work? 0, yeah. Okay, so you just need a dummy key in this in the second particle to actually paste the keys. Because if the track is empty, it doesn't let you to paste the keys for some reason. Okay, so now we can offset that box, the second box, to where the second foot is, right? Which is here, right? So I'm gonna move it here. And then I'm gonna, oh no, it's this one, size. So probably, ooh, how come they're generating at the same time? Maybe the duplicate doesn't work. Because if, yeah. Hmm. Can I delete the keys? So maybe duplicate doesn't work. I'm gonna delete this and see what's going on. Delete it. You might be able, presets, start delay. There's no way to save this. I'm just trying to see if there's a way to duplicate this or merge it. Repeat, start delay. Usually there is a way to save it, but for some reason I can't. So is it still working? Oh, it's generating on both. Okay. So we might have to delete the other cube as well, because somehow this particle is being generated on this one. But if we delete it like this, no, it is selecting it. Detach. Duplicate. So now we detach it from the cube. Yeah, so there's no more. And now we attach this to the second cube, place by type. So now technically, yeah, if we now try to offset, okay, that works. So don't duplicate the cube and the particle at the same time. Duplicate the cube, move it, and then duplicate the particle that you just animated, and then once you duplicate the particle, assign it to the new cube. So it works like this. It's a bit late, so it'll have to be here somewhere. And now we can light shader for the cube and just bring down both. So here you don't want to cast the cube. So this is when you go back. No, it was the shadows. Live shadow. Models casting shadow. So it says all. You just need the character, right? The character in your scene, which is this guy. Why can't we select? I'm just gonna. It's probably the transparency. I'm just gonna delete the transparency for the character. Now I can select them. Go on light. Lock the view so it doesn't change when I select the character, and just drag and drop. Oh no, I did it again. Live shadow. Unlock. Live shadow. Lock. Lock the viewport. So I just want this character to cast the shadow. What did I do? Oh, okay, it's working. We still have the reflection, and we still have... Oh, I think the reflection is based on camera? But no, it should work. Yeah, I'm not sure how the reflection works. I'll go check it out in a bit. See, so now we're just casting the shadow on the character. And we have our little particle effects. Obviously, you can add more for the steps. Change the color, do whatever you want. I'm gonna go check quickly how is the reflection. Is anybody gonna use reflection, by the way, in their scene? You guys need it? No answer means no reflection. Yeah? Somebody? Yeah, okay, no problem. So I won't dig into it too much. Did I cover everything? So props, we did props last week. It's in the YouTube channel. VFX we did. Lights we did. Basics. By the way, since we don't have this week, I feel like if you guys want to add sound effects and dialogue that are essential to your story, I would add them here as well. Okay, so if you want to add whatever explosions or sound effects, please make sure you add them here in this week as well, in starting May 6th. That's pretty much it, unless you guys want me to show you something more specific for your previous, or you have any questions for part 2 and part 3. No, sound effects should be after polish. So so next week we start polishing, starting next Wednesday. Exactly, right after. So starting May 6th. Sounds good. Yeah. Anybody else? No? I can stay if somebody wants to stay behind and ask me Personal questions, I'm available till whatever. I'm supposed to stay till 6, so I can stay till 6. You guys want me to go over the props, the prop stuff, how to parent stuff to the character, how to animate props? Yeah? Okay. So I'll stop this one.